So the rumor was about the weather that we're supposed to have a couple of days or 2 weeks of 90-degree weather. So because we live in the higher elevations in Oregon, I normally don't put anything outside of the greenhouse until like after Mother's Day. We're in the greenhouse today, and I was going to share with you how I plant my tomatoes every year. Yeah, so if you look behind me and stuff, you see all of these wires hanging from the rafters, and you can only do this, I guess, if you have some kind of roofing system where you can hang some wire down from the ceiling. And this is just basically like Wi-Fi wire or like phone wire, phone cable, and I basically tied some square knots in it. I got maybe about 4 or 5 knots in each piece of wire. And what I usually do is plant a tomato plant next to each wire, right? So each plant next to each wire. So when they get bigger, what I normally do is I just tie the branches up to this piece of wire, and I just have them all climbing or tied to this one piece of wire. I don't use like sticks. I don't use like the tomato wire. I just use one of these. These go like for years and years. They just keep working. So anyway, that's my system. And I was going to show you what I do to the ground. And so I basically I don't do any crop rotation in the greenhouse. So I just dig where I dug last year. And I can probably fit about 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 20, 24, at the least 24 tomatoes in here. And so all I'm going to do is dig all of these holes so I can get the tomatoes in, and the rest of my tomatoes will go outside. And these were the tomatoes that I transplanted a couple of weeks ago. I did a video of that, and they're all big now. And these were the rest of the tomatoes that were on my windowsill at the Melange restaurant. So these will go inside. So the first thing I do is I basically just put some water in the holes so when the new roots go in, they don't bake. And another good idea is to plant them like in the evening, fill up all the holes with water, and then let them go down. And so now that the holes are all wet, all I do is I put in a scoop of organics, natural horse manures, which is all from the horse. And it's basically my favorite type of fertilizer is a horse manure. And I just basically gonna do this to the ground, just throw that in, one shovel at a time. And you can see the worm action in here. And so now I have wet the holes, I've put the horse manure in, and by the way, this is aged manure. I do not like to use green manure, which is a hot, fresh manure, because it's too hot. It'll burn the roots. When dealing and working with horse manure, I usually let it go for 1 year. And anyway, I got this last year. And the last thing I do is I put this into the ground, which is dolomite or lime. And I just throw one handful in each hole, and I should be good for the rest of the growing season. Just like that. It's so good to breathe this dust in. Not really, but I used to free dive a lot back home in Maui, and when it gets really bad, I just do a breath hold, and I'm usually good. But still not good to breathe this though. So I got all my hose filled with manure and lime, and then I just took the biggest ones, the biggest tomatoes out. And I have grown tomatoes ever since I was like in high school. Probably like when I was, or even before that, when I was maybe in the 8th grade. All the way to the end of high school, we grew tomatoes. Our family was big farmers back home in Maui. And the thing about the tomato is this plant is like so super strong. And another thing about the tomato, I don't know about if most people know, but the entire plant is just one root. So when they touch the ground, all the fuzzies, all the little fine like hairs on the stem will actually turn into root. So the trick I learned from the Hungarians is to like lay the tomato down or bury them way down deep into the ground, so the tomato takes longer for it to reach the top, because by the end of the season the tomatoes are at the top of the rafter. So that's basically how I do it. Okay, so now I got all the soldiers all tucked in their beds. They're all in there. And the only thing I'm gonna do now is add some H2O to it, so they stay nice and wet through the night. So basically now all I'm gonna do is just give it some water, and then that will be it. Let nature take its course. Just like this, and just like that. Anyway, oh yeah, and I forgot, the reason why I use the dolomite is because my ground is insufficient with calcium. And so when it has low calcium, when you're growing tomatoes, they tend to get the flower rot, which is the brown spots on the bottom of the tomato. And then it usually turns from a brown spot into a rotten spot. So this prevents the brown spots from happening. And if you don't want to use the dolomite, you can also use like Tums antacids. I've done that before. 2 or 3 tablets. Just put them at the base of the roots, and then you're good to go. Well, the sun's going down. All the plants are in. They're all watered. I hope you had as much fun as I did, especially breathing all that white powder dust. Anyway, thanks for watching.